Well,
Hello,
hello,
hello.
hello. Welcome everybody that may see this to this thing, Chris, that we're not quite sure what it is yet.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure that out, which, to be fair, a lot of things are being figured out right now for a lot of people. I think there's been a lot of lately, as far as the political moment in the global north is concerned, a lot of things have gone mask off,
Hmm.
and it feels quite frightening for them, I'm assuming. I'm not in the global north, I live in the global south. So it's not that we're not being touched. We are very much affected, but we would like to welcome you to the world of chaos that we have always known. I suppose that would be my take on it. Um, Chaos and impunity. You know, it's that's the situation. You get used to it after a while. It sucks, and I don't blame you if you're panicking because that is the thing to do at the start. But afterwards, you gotta suck it in and keep moving and start fighting.
I think that's the recording done, Chris. Finished. Do you want to give a bit more context to your location, bit about you
Oh,
before we get going into our next exploration?
yes. Okay. So, hello. I am in the Philippines. I am in central Philippines, Bacolod City. Um, and it is currently 33 degrees Celsius absolute temperature, but wet bulb temperature is around 41 degrees Celsius. Thank you, humidity. So that's almost, no, wait. The official, uh, if I recall correctly, the official ceiling for human tolerance for heat is 31 degrees wet bulb
Mm.
temperature. And so it is actually quite unsafe for me to be outside, especially if, for instance, like me, I'm taking antidepressants, which can cause heat intolerance. And the last time we tried this, I actually had heat exhaustion and we had to cancel our meeting. So this is an effect of global warming, by the way. This is an effect of climate change. And aside from the nonstop typhoons that happen here later in the year, the heat waves and the droughts have a serious effect on people's health. And it's not just about comfort, it's about survival at this point. People die, and that's just how it is. Um, I turn the mic back to you, Garry. Where are you at? That looks so lovely.
Thank you, Chris. It's not quite as hot uh, here compared to here in the Philippines, but I'm sitting in a beautiful. I'm actually going to test the tech again here, Chris. I'm going to flip
Mm-hmm.
around, hopefully, and you get to see what is a
Ooh.
very beautiful woodland, and it's called Joyden's Wood. And Joyden's Wood is based in the southeast of the UK. And I'm coming to learn. I'm not a horticulturist or botanist, although I'm very interested to learn a lot more about these things. But it's this woodland makes up one part of only 2% of ancient woodland that remains across the whole of the British Isles. So this, before we jumped on, right, we were talking about the effects of collapse, of the incongruence between so-called sustainability and ongoing GDP growth through Western capitalism, etc., which I'm sure we'll get into in a bit more detail.
Mhm.
But as I sit here with you, um, it's a very interesting paradox, right? Because I'm super grateful, A, to have found you, to have met you, for us to be able to do this over this technology. Yet at the same time, the paradox is how much harm is caused around the world to allow us to do this very thing, to have this mobile
Mm.
phone in my hand, to have these raw materials that get extracted, etc. Right? And I think that's something that as someone that works within the extractive industries, I'm finding this moment very intriguing, and very intriguing from the point of view of the fear. / willful blindness of particular those with power to engage in this very conversation that you and I are trying to bring more mainstream. So yeah, that's probably a bit about me and where I'm sitting right now.
Thank you so much, Garry. I think one thing that you said about there being only about 2% of woodland left in England, or would that be the entirety of the British Isles?
So just for the entirety of the British Isles, but specifying
Oh,
ancient woodland. So it's not all
ancient
not
woodland.
all woodland, but so ancient woodland here is in essence anything that's older than 400 years old. So it's
Oh,
sitting so literally less than 5 minutes walk from where I am. There's an incredible ancient oak, and I'll share a picture of you with it. And this thing is magnificent. It's the only word to use, and it is literally over 400 years old.
that is an honor. Congratulations. I mean, that's not the right thing to say to someone who's in close contact with an oak that old, but it feels like an honor, to
Mm.
be in communion in community with something that venerable, something that has lasted that long. It's an ancestor and it's still with you.
Yes, yes, and I think you do raise a seriously important point though, because it's big for me. I've only lived here for the last month or so, and it's not even far, Chris, from where I used to live. It's only like 3 kilometers away, but it's like
Mm,
another world in terms of the air quality, in terms of the experience, in terms of the feeling of being near and within this woodland. It is a spiritual space. It is a otherworldly space that has seen, that tree has seen multiple generations come and go. And
mhm,
the thing I'm curious about as well is just inverted commas. That tree hasn't moved. Of course, it has underground. Of course, it has. They're communicating above ground in their own way. However, what knowledge and insight and wisdom does that single tree have over 400 years? And when I compare that to the short-term quarterly earnings cycle of corporations, I just these are the sorts of intersections I find really curious.
mm. And I think the thing with quarterly earnings, it's concerned with one thing. It's concerned with earnings in particular, whereas the wisdom of an oak, the story that even like a random bird living on that oak can tell, is so much more interesting, I think, than the numbers in someone's bank account. And I feel like the global north in particular has lost so much touch with that because of the widespread ecocide that had happened throughout an earlier part of your history. I mean, when you said that only 2% of ancient woodland, so 2% of all of that glorious history, and I don't say glorious like rah, war and whatever. I mean glorious in that it stretched towards the sun, it's amazing. And
Mm.
so much of it has now been felled for the sake of what? Someone's nice vacation home in, I don't know, Croydon. I'm not so sure where people have vacation homes there. Um, but yeah, like it's it feels like, and I'm saying this as someone from the global south, you guys are impoverished in ways that have nothing to do with money and everything to do with a profound spiritual loss. And I I I'm sorry for that. Like I don't think I can understand the grief of that. I have my own grief, as someone who's grown up as a colonized person, like when because the Philippines was colonized by the Spanish back in 1521, and since then so much of who my people used to be, my peoples used to be, have been erased by conquest. And at the same time, we still have, for reasons I'm not sure I can really articulate, it feels like there's still a spiritual connection that that like, for instance, I don't know how to explain it. There, this near this house that I'm living in right now,
Hmm.
we live about maybe 5 kilometers away from the fourth tallest volcano in the Philippines, and it's an extremely active volcano. And just a couple of days ago, it did a little like
Mm.
thing. So there's been ashfall warnings for several days. Um, but you know, you see that and how it dominates the sky, and you think, wow, and you look at the sky and you also think, wow, and there's just this connection.
Mm.
I, I, it's so hard to explain. Um, and it also comes with, I think, the fact that because our infrastructures are not well cared for, like our pavement is garbage. The asphalt here cracks at the drop of a hat. And so, oh, hello, friend.
Another friend, we love you. You're gorgeous.
Hello. Lovely friends. I mean, that's really wonderful, like being able to meet new new non-human companions. But yeah, like plants here, they grow really, really easily. And they're so generous. Like everything is so generous.
Mm.
The world is such a generous place. And there is so much abundance in in everything, even in other humans. And we forget that very frequently. Oh,
Just non-stop. It's lovely.
no, that's so much fun.
So-
I also have a friend here, but he's off screen. Yeah, let's see. It's just and like even the ones that have, say, predatory intentions per se, like that's just part of trying to survive.
Mhm.
The attempt of of a cat to catch a bird, for instance,
Mhm.
that's instincts triggering from deep within them. And we humans, we have the same kinds of instincts, not necessarily to catch a bird, but to be with one another, to be in community with one another. And what does that mean? That means being inconvenienced. That means, you know, having to get off the computer when you're deep in the zone, and maybe like helping cook dinner for a friend, or um driving your parents to a doctor's appointment. Those little things. But they keep reminding you that you're people, that you're human. Because when you're just alone in your little bubble, you get trapped.
I love that so much, Chris. And I really appreciate how you're gesturing. Now, we wanted to talk about collapse today, right? And I think what you just
Mhm.
described was one of the biggest antidotes. It's not going to slow down collapse, but I think what you just pointed towards, that reconnection, that remembering, that reconvening, that recommuning, that's what's possible, I think, after this necessary Western collapse, is to remember who and what we are and that lineage. Yeah, I'm still very early stage in all of this, Chris, myself, but just being here, that allowing of literally how many, it's half a dozen non-human friends have just come up and said hello in the wood, right?
That's
It
so
may
lovely.
in my day job, I would have been irritated, right?
Mm.
Someone's interrupting me in a meeting. Quick, I've got to focus on this meeting. Like, what is valued in particularly Western society is the least valuable things to us as a species and to the world. So the perception of value and what is valuable is so skewed and so lost spiritually, community, etc.
Oh, Gary, could you say that again? Because the audio got muffled for a moment.
Oh no, I was just reflecting on how powerful it is when we come together again to commune,
Mm.
to truly be with one another, not from a kumbaya point of view, although that's totally fine sometimes, but from a point of trying to grow and learn and
Mm.
understand and empathize and be challenged and to have our thoughts changed and to allow ourselves to be changed. Like none of that is possible in Western capitalist spaces. There is no space for that, Chris. There is zero space for that to happen.
And I think, like, right now, for instance, I am extremely unemployed. So I have the time, I have the space, and I also have the privilege of being supported by my community so that I can have that time and space instead of starving to death on the street. Um, and given that I have the time and space now, it's in such stark contrast to when I was working at an office and did not have that time and space. And what you described, what you just described as, like, oh, I have a meeting, I'm going to be so irritated because I have to do this and this and this. It's that shrinking down of the spirit
Mm.
and turning it into this hard kernel of nothing more than pain and and desperation. And in a way, that is what a lot of, I mean, it's not explicit, of course. It's not what people, what humans who are trying to be human want, but it is what the system wants
Yes.
because it makes us easy to control. It makes us easy to just like quell. And those who are too tired and too in pain to do anything will be compliant and will not fight back. So it behooves us to search for those spaces of abundance, to find bandwidth, so that we have the space to think there's hope, and if there's hope, then I should fight because I can fight.
So beautifully stated. And I think what we're doing, right, whatever this thing is that's emerging in our conversations, is that invitation, right? I feel, Chris. Even if it's for 30 minutes once a week, 30 minutes once a month. Who are those people? Where are those groups of people? Where are those family members? Where are those, what does it look and feel like for someone to be able to truly express and explore and listen and unlearn and relearn and, just without any condition, like just for a moment, 30 minutes of laying down all those masks of fear, perfectionism, got to grow the business, whatever, whether you're in global north, global south, anywhere in the world, where are those spaces for people? And I'm really grateful to you that we're practicing building those spaces for ourselves, for you and I at this stage, and like who knows who else in the future, just it's so important, Chris. It's so important because I do believe that again, it's not an antidote because collapse is collapsing,
Mm-hmm.
but we're being shown signs of what's possible, of what we can remember. That's what I really feel at the moment. I feel there's me sitting here right now with you, like there's invitations everywhere, invitations from every one of these dogs that walks past. Hello. Absolutely amazing. Hello. 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 How you doing? You well? Hello. So this is what a lovely little pack looks like.
Oh, yeah, it's so lovely. Like, and I think it's wonderful that animals like that, like dogs, cats, they were able to evolve with us. Hello. Hi,
Hello.
friend. Bye bye. I mean, at some point, there's the breeding, the selective breeding that humans did that changed their nature, and that's an enormous responsibility on our part now to be able to figure out how to work with the nature that we've changed. But also, in a
Mm.
sense, dogs and cats in particular sort of domesticated themselves when they entered into human spaces and decided, you know what, these hairless monkeys aren't so bad. And because there's archaeological evidence that dogs, for instance, have been part of human life for almost 30,000 years. And that's an eye blink at the geological time scale. But for humans, we're a very young species, right? We're
Mm.
maybe 200,000 years old. And to find ourselves with companions towards the end of that 200,000 years is so beautiful, I think. And there's so much responsibility that comes with understanding that these these companions, these friends, have helped, have grown with us both as a species and as individuals. And so we really have to respect them and respect their needs as much as they have been they have evolved and eventually been bred to serve ours. I'm going to stop there because my internet connection is unstable. So yeah.
That, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to go for a little I'm going to go for a little walk with you as we test your internet connection. Feel free to go on to turn your camera off if it helps you, Chris.
Oh no,
But
it's stable.
hopefully
It
it works.
went
It's
stable.
stable again. Brilliant, brilliant.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, one of my biggest ongoing challenges with all of this is, as a deeply conditioned cognitive dissonance, my journey towards even being more vegetarian, let alone vegan, is an ongoing one. Honestly, so much
Mm.
conditioning around, the disposability of non-human life for human nourishment at will without thought, and I find myself regularly, you know, dealing with that cognitive. Let me bring this to life. Like Winnie, my wonderful,
Mm.
wonderful non-human companion who offers unconditional love daily. I wouldn't dream of sticking her, I would not dream of sticking her in a pot
Mm.
with a load of spices, right? Wouldn't dream of it. So how do I find myself able with cognitive dissonance to do that with other animals on occasion? And this is a continuous dance for me personally in sort of trying to build that muscle of accountability in line with what you just
Mm.
described.
And I think there's I myself find myself not really able to go on the vegetarian vegan route, but one way for me to kind of understand why and how, for instance, the fish that I had for lunch, it had such a hard time. It worked hard to survive.
Mm.
Everything that we eat worked hard to survive.
Mm.
And so it's a matter of respecting and rejoicing with them because they have met their end by helping us continue. And that goes the same for the plants that we eat. I mean, the a fruit is an extremely difficult thing for a tree to create. It's a fucking miracle, and it
That's
takes
amazing. That's
weeks.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
such a good
And
point.
and it's a delicious thing to have, and if we don't eat, we die. So we are animals ourselves. We're opportunistic omnivores as a species. And I think that that is frankly one of our biggest strengths, because we can have just about anything. Like, I think the only animal that can rival us for the ability to digest things is the bearded vulture, which can literally swallow bones whole. But you know, we we have our sense of taste and our sense of smell, and that combined sensory experience whenever we eat is itself just a beautiful thing. It's
Hmm.
part of the beautiful thing that makes us what we are. And if it so happens that that beautiful experience involves the death of something else, then you have to acknowledge and honor that death by making sure that you're eating in a way that keeps you healthy, and also, I guess that's the thing, it's almost impossible to do so because of the meat complex, like the meat industry.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's very, very difficult. And on top of that, there's the fact that you have to earn money to buy meat and so on and so forth. And for those who have the means, there are ways of, for instance, like accessing cage-free eggs or
Yes.
free-range pork, or that kind of thing, where the animals actually have happy lives before they meet their end. But for most people, that's not possible. And how do we make that then something that we can change? Because pigs are extremely intelligent animals. Cows have beautiful, like such profound emotions. And yeah, fish, they're doing their fish thing. They're amazing. And squid, like, all of them are delicious, but all of them are also just themselves. And
Mhm.
we are ourselves, and it's not that it's our nature to eat meat, but it's our nature to eat anything and to cook in ways that make sure that that anything tastes good. So, and in a way, it's making art, which is a different way of expressing how we're human, how to create and iterate and experiment with, being alive.
We need to capture that. I think you've just given this conversation a title: Experimenting with Being Alive.
I like it. I really like it.
That's a really good title. That feels very apt somehow.
I agree. So I think maybe, because I need to find my plug. I forgot to plug in my computer. Perhaps this can be our opportunity to um, close this conversation.
I th I think so, and I think it's beautifully stated. Great exploration, and yeah, let's let's see when the next one feels like we need to get online again. But I'm really interested. What I will make sure of is that I send you a picture of
Oh,
the
yes,
giant
please.
of the giant oak. Um, so yeah, let me find you a picture of that. Yes. Oh, yeah. I'll send you a picture of that, and I think I just want to thank you, and I want to anybody that's got this far. Please do follow Christina's work. As importantly, please consider contracting or leveraging her amazing knowledge, experience as an anthropologist, as a writer, you can mention everything else you do better than me, maybe. Is there anything else that you're currently curious to be working with or on, Chris, at this time?
Well, I would very much love to be able to do research with people, particularly so qualitative social science research, since that's my training. But also, if you want something a little less high commitment, because research is a long-term kind of conversation, especially qualitative research. But I am very open to having conversations. I You can find me at ChristinaMSison.com, and I have a contact me page on that website. And yeah, if you want to ask questions about food sovereignty, global north, global south, relationality, that kind of stuff, I'm open to it. And I do charge though, but that is something that is necessary because I do need to survive as someone who lives on planet Earth in the post-industrial capitalist hellscape that we currently live in. And yeah, that's it for me.
Fantastic. Reach out to Chris. Join us next time. Stay safe out there, everyone. Cheers, Chris.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.